Last season, especially down the stretch, Wendell Carter Jr. showed off the type of all-around impact that made him the 7th pick in the 2018 draft and the centerpiece of the Nikola Vucevic trade. In his last 20 games, he put up nearly 19 points, 11 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block while shooting 58% from the field. In addition to that, over the course of the season, he really started shooting the 3-ball, often served as the hub of his team's offense, and provided excellent defensive versatility and impact. With the growing wealth of young talent in Orlando and his own natural progression still at just 23 years old, I believe Wendell is in for a breakout performance and at least has a chance at taking home the Most Improved Player award. Now, he has quietly become one of the better defensive bigs in basketball. At about 6'10", 270 with a 7'4" wingspan, he has the size and the foot speed to play either the 4 or the 5. He excels as a post defender, he can defend in space and in different coverages in the pick and roll, and he does a good job of finishing possessions. He's also a solid rim protector and has simply been a consistent contributor and standout on this end for a team that has often, through personnel and sometimes injuries, left a whole lot to be desired. The Magic enjoyed their lowest, meaning their best defensive rating, when he was on the court at 108.8, and their highest, meaning their worst, at 113.5 when he was off the floor, which is nearly a whole 5 points worse. Defensive rating for individuals can be kinda spotty, but over the course of an entire season I like it, and this is just one way to look at what he does. I think one of the more eye-popping places that show his impact here is just how well he fared against some of the league's absolute best bigs. Despite not being the 7-footer with the 7'9" wingspan, he's physical, he's got good length, he positions his body well, and it led to a lot of success individually, especially in the post. Now, these numbers are somewhat muddy, and basketball will forever be a team game that is always relying upon scheme to help get stops, especially in the post. But if you watch some of those games back, it really does make sense and matches the big picture. These numbers are via NBA.com shots defended. In 3 games against Joel Embiid, he held him to 38% from the field and 6 turnovers. Embiid still got his overall numbers, but Wendell specifically made him work every possession. Against Giannis, it was more of the same. Held him to 43% with 6 turnovers in 4 matchups. He did a good job of walling up and having the right combination of strength and foot speed to, again, just make it difficult on one of the most dominant guys ever at his peak. In 2 games against the back-to-back MVP in Nikola Jokic, he held him to 35% with 4 turnovers. And against the All-Star he was traded for in Nikola Vucevic, 42% with 3 turnovers in 4 games. Over the course of the entire season, he had one of the best combinations of matchup difficulty and defensive metric numbers. And even if, let's say, he only gets marginally better in other areas for the rest of his career, having a guy who is this capable of making it tough on players of this caliber is a super valuable asset to have. And I really like this sequence against Giannis and the Bucks. It's nothing too crazy, he just stays in great position in the pick and roll. He's able to get a hand on the lob up to Giannis, and then he runs the floor hard. First looking to get inside, he sees Rolo in there, so he fans out and immediately knocks down the 3 from Franz. Again, it's not crazy, but it's a great 2-way sequence. Now, Wendell's playmaking abilities might be my favorite aspect of his game. The 2.8 assists per game number won't really catch your attention, but he took a lot of steps forward in realizing more of his potential here, and I like the way Orlando used him in Jamal Mosley's first year as head coach. Wendell often served as a hub of their offense, working on those delay actions, getting into some dribble handoffs, and working some out of the post. And he also made solid decisions on short rolls, and all of this was boosted by 2 things: his ability to set good screens and his threat to put the ball on the floor and attack and exploit gaps. I think these quick backdoor feeds, both designed in 2-man situations, really showed off what he can do here. A lot of the times it was just read and react. He was passing his teammates open, fitting the ball in a tight window. Just being that guy teammates can be confident in using as sort of a safety valve. And it's a big weapon to have, knowing that if you cut quick, he'll at least look for you.
Here is Harris. Nice move.
Know him off wearing them into the arena with your suit, but maybe around the house.
I'd want to wear those anyway.
I think we continue to see them explore a lot of different things next year from an X's and O's perspective. I see a lot of the delay actions really working with Wendell in mind specifically, and even Paolo too. You have wild variations of it across the league, from Jokic to Draymond to even Porzingis with the Mavs. I think a lot of horns could be explored, whether that's Paolo and Wendell up top, possibly running a 4-5 pick and roll, or you throw Franz in there to get him some horns flare actions. There's potential to get Fultz and Suggs running off a UCLA cut or letting Cole Anthony do his thing. You know, Terrence Ross will get his share of pin downs from various initial actions. There's a ton to explore and ways to make everyone super tough to guard, especially with Wendell often in the center of a lot of things.
Euro step, and that one came into the game. Fifth in the blocks in the NBA, fifth in the NBA in blocks this season at 1.9 per game.
He gets the scoring responsibility with senior struggling, just one up eight from the floor.
Harris with a nice pass for him. Two-man game with Wendell. Corner three is good. He'll put up a lot of scoring. Almost 39 attempts a game. There's a lot for Pop-ups along with Hield and Halliburton. He's averaging about 16 points a game. A 7-point lead. 3.5 gone by, third quarter. Randall went for the steal. Carter throws it up.
Change of pace to his game, a little more shit. And it's so valuable to be able to grow up.
He's in career points with the Bulls. For Nikola Vucevic, and a point shy of yet another double-double.
He's another guy.
Score in bunches. We've got to do a good job on him and not let him take over this third quarter.
Another aspect I'm excited to watch is how he and Franz Wagner play together in the future. They already developed some real chemistry with Franz's terrific abilities as a cutter and his growing success on dribble handoffs and empty side pick and rolls. I think the two of them can continue to be a great tandem, and especially as they grow as individuals, putting pressure on a defense, everyone else will only benefit.
Jim, he's going to put that one up.
How about that? Nice pass. There's Franz Wagner. Levine trying to guard him. Nice play by Wagner. Franz Wagner.
My partner.
Now, a big part of the reason I'm confident in him taking a jump next season and just continuing to be a great player in general is the growth that he showed as a three-point shooter. He's had the potential to a degree, even dating back to Duke, but it's always been pretty low volume and more of an occasion than like a true weapon since he's been in the league. But last year he shot 214 threes, which nearly doubled his career total in just 62 games. That equaled out to about 3.5 attempts a game. He was confident and capable of knocking them down in a few key situations. He took 190 of his 214 threes above the break, and those can basically be split into 2.5 categories. The first being as the trail man in transition. He's a very good rebounder, so this is naturally a spot he'll get a lot of opportunities. Opposing bigs didn't really respect him yet, especially earlier on in the season, and they're also going to run back to the paint in most situations, and he took advantage.
Hawks trailing 2.
The second area came off of pick and pops and dribble handoffs. He's a really solid screener, and again, teams weren't exactly playing him like a real threat from deep, and even so, it's just super difficult for a lot of centers and bigs to keep up with someone popping when they are defending the pick and roll, especially in a drop. And having someone who can provide this type of spacing in these situations often leads to getting good looks somewhere, even if it's not him actually taking the shots. Now, he did shoot just 32.7% on the year, which by any standard is still below average, but the type of jump that he made in a single year is commendable and worth betting on going forward. Overall, I think this is a big key to his ceiling. My guess would be that he's hovering somewhere around league average, which is about 35-36% on a little higher volume. But if he's outperforming those numbers, he becomes a unique weapon, and that puts him in a special conversation.
Almost turned it over, but gets it back out to Wendell Carter.
And to quickly touch on the rest of his offensive game, he shot about 75% in the restricted area, doing his fair share of work in the dunker spot, catching lobs, and finishing as a roll man out of high screens or in dribble handoffs. Just under 40% of his total attempts come here in the restricted area.
Here's Franz Wagner lobbing it up. Wendell Carter Jr. over the top.
The other night against Cleveland.
Suggs turns the corner. Lobs for Wendell Carter Jr.
He's not going to get that call. and went soft. What a nice.
I like how comfortably he can attack closeouts and drive, like we alluded to talking about his playmaking. And as he continues to grow as a shooter, these opportunities will rise. I mean, the man has already been pump faking threes like he's getting Steph attention even when no one's there, but being able to put the ball on the floor using his body and take advantage of more traditional centers in these situations usually leads to good looks for somebody. And he was also a really effective mid-range shooter last year. He shot nearly 50% there, which is a career high by a wide margin. We'll see how much of this sticks around in the rate that he shoots it at, but it's a useful weapon if he's converting at or around this level.
9 lead changes 4 times in this game.
And normally he scores it, but this time he saw the skip to Justice, who I think will get that first career.
Now to a couple things I'm interested in going forward. I do think he's a solid rim protector and should be able to at least get the job done as the best guy in their projected starting unit. However, he's probably optimized in a role like the one that he played last year with Mo Bamba out there. That just made a lot of sense. And with Paolo coming in, it'll definitely be different, though the trade-off offensively is a whole nother story, as you guys know. Now, Jonathan Isaac is kind of the wild card for all of this. If he's anything like we remember him being, it makes everything work unbelievably well, at least on paper. And I think Orlando has some success ahead of schedule, but I can't reasonably put any expectations on him. I don't want it to be mistaken as me calling Wendell Kevin Love or something as a rim defender. And a good portion of the numbers back him up last year, but this is at least something I'm curious about. And, you know, maybe he wipes away any doubt that I have. And Magic fans specifically, I'm interested in hearing what you think about this, being that you're locked way more into this team than I ever could be, so let me know down below. Now, outside of the threes, the main area I think would take him to the next level as a scorer is in his non-restricted area paint attempts. So shot-wise, we're talking the jump hooks, short jumpers, and the flip shots and floaters out of the pick and roll. It's important to keep the perspective here because there's a long list of bigs who can't and shouldn't even think about taking some of these shots, but he was at 43.4% in this area, and I think the way this team is constructed, this is a spot that really helps elevate his game.
Anthony, rebounding, outstanding, 3rd in the league. Here's a short jumper by.
And to the last couple things, health is a big part of him getting to where he wants to go. He played a career high 62 games last season, which at this point is kind of the modern expectation I have for most players, but I think if he can continue to at least stay there and hopefully get up into the 70s range, he'll be in good shape. Like more than a few of his teammates, he's dealt with some injuries throughout his young career, but hopefully he and the rest of this young Magic roster have made it a priority to get right and do everything to withstand the 82 game season, because if they do, the future is very bright. And finally, what might be the craziest thing about all of this is the Orlando Magic have a big man with this type of potential on a 4-year, $50 million deal at just 23 years old. And to add to it, it's front-loaded. He's set to make less than $11 million in 25-26, which if everything goes right could be a huge asset in making Orlando a championship or at least Eastern Conference finalist contender. The injury issues and just level of play kind of earned him that deal prior to last season, but from a player perspective, he's already worth much more than the 105th best paid player in the league. Wendell Carter Jr. took the necessary steps in becoming a potential star big man and a bona fide top 10 player at his position next season. If he continues his trajectory, finds his niche offensively, anchors the defense, and further develops as a shooter, I think he'll be on the short list of most improved players. While a guy like Anthony Edwards has the red carpet kind of laid out in front of him, the rest of the field is wide open, and I think WCJ takes a lot of that attention. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new around here, and comment down below some of your thoughts. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'm Keandre, this is Hoop Intellect, and I'm out.
I need mine up front, no ifs, ands, or buts. Tap in if you really bout it. I can be your motivation, I can be the one you call at the late nights on the grind.